and welcome to our podcast, Learning, Leading Now, where we talk all things Mobile County Public Schools. I'm your host, Renee Phillips, Director of Communication for the school system, joined by our co-host today,
Ms. Asha Staples. Hello.
with the Office of Communication.
Office Communications, yes.
And we have a special guest today. Will you introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am Coach Cory Crist.
Yes, he's here from MGM, another one of our MCPSS unsung heroes we just featured last week. A tearjerker, I must say so myself. Love their family, and so excited that he's here to talk with us about life and some other projects coming up.
Yes.
The Crist family is royalty in Mobile County Public Schools.
I have a few family members that have come through the hallways of an MCPSS school in the past. Yes, quite a few actually.
So tell us that, because you were going to be a teacher your whole life, right?
I had no other choice. So my dad was athletic director and supervisor of health, PE, and driver's ed.
Yes.
Taught for, I think it was close to 40 years total, but I don't know the exact number. I have my real mom. She was a coach and PE teacher also, taught for, I want to say 26 years. Then I had a stepmom who was a principal, educator.
A couple different schools, principal.
Right. Stepdad was a principal, educator, coach. I've got sisters. I've got cousins. I've got my wife, my beautiful wife. I better not forget her. I might not be eating for a while. But yeah, my whole family, I've been around it my whole life, and I enjoyed hearing the stories when I was younger, and I was like, I don't have any other choice. I got to do this. So it's been a blessing, though. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah. We have a lot of families like that, don't we? That it's just in them to be educators and to be with Mobile County Public Schools.
There's some MCPSS families, yes, you can definitely say.
Goes down the family chain,
yes.
Of course.
It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
Yeah.
And so you teach. Tell us where you teach.
I teach at Mary G. Montgomery. This is my, I want to say 10th year, maybe 11th. I lose count. This is my 16th year overall. Spent some time down in South Mobile County. Enjoyed my time there. I've coached. I teach health. I've taught PE. Teach nutrition and diet. Just give me a classroom, give me some bodies, and let me do my thing, and I'm usually good. Just tell me what my subject is, give me a little time to plan, and let me go. So I've enjoyed it, though.
Obviously very good at it. And Asha met you. Tell us how you came across him.
So, of course, I was here 2 weeks ago or so, kind of introducing our MCPSS Unsung Heroes. So I kind of put a call out to principals and teachers that I know on social media, asking for suggestions of people who are just awesome families, awesome teachers. And I know that the Crist family was probably my second or third family that was mentioned, and I definitely had to have them top of my list to get their story out there because it was just so touching. But your wife's principal is actually who emailed me, and I was so excited because when I reached out, I was like, I don't know how families usually handle, whatever they're going through outside of the classroom, how open they are about it. And you emailed me back almost like within 5 minutes. I was like, yes, and if dad's okay, then mom's probably okay. So I was really excited, and she just kind of talked to me about, y'all are both educators, how much you show up for the classroom, and that your personal life, you would never know the, I don't want to say challenges, but some of the things that you guys are going through with the health of your son, and kind of just separating the life, but also having a part of your classrooms, like we see your Win the Day slogan everywhere.
Yes.
So kind of tell us about your family.
Well, my wife and I, expecting our first kid, we had no implications anything was wrong. If I get a little sunscreen in my eyes, start tearing up, choke up, y'all, like I tell Ashley all the time.
It out.
Yeah, I don't cry, but like anytime I get to talking about my son, like I just get emotional because we've been through a lot. And so when he was born, they basically told us he wasn't going to live, which is hard to hear as a parent, because as a dad, being that all of my parents played college sports, I played college sports, my sister was a dancer, like we all were just a sports family. So his life was planned out. He was going to be an athlete. He was going to play baseball. I kidded around, I made it up a word, with some other people that, that was my retirement job. I was going to prepare him to play professional ball and then follow him around and
be his agent.
Right. And so when he was born and they told us that, it was like, what is sports? Like, I don't even care anymore. I just want my kid to be okay. And so we had him at Spring Hill Hospital, and they transported him over to Children and Women's probably about 4 hours afterwards. They wheeled him in a little box, and of course you can stick your hands in there, but there's like a barrier so you can't actually touch him. And it was really rough, and it was probably the most difficult part of my life. And the fact that my wife was having to stay in the hospital, I actually had the ability to go back and forth those first few days, but she had to, after you have a baby, you got to stay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was driving me back and forth because I was not in any type of mental state to be driving.
Mm-hmm.
And once they got him to the other hospital, my whole family's amazing. Like, I'm like in-law, like all of them.
Yeah.
And so my mom and my mother-in-law were like, we're going to the hospital with him. And so they follow the ambulance, they get there, and I stay with Ashley. And then about, I don't know, probably about 2 or 3 in the morning, I get a text, and they're like, hey, they think he's going to live. They think it's, genetic disorder, but he's probably not going to be able to talk, probably won't ever walk. He may not know who you are, like that sort of thing. And so that's a hard pill to swallow when you get that news. But when I went to the hospital the next day and my mom's preparing me for what I'm about to see in the NICU, and first off, I believe if you want to be a parent, or if you are a parent, you should have to walk through the NICU.
Oh, yeah.
There is just, amazing. Of course, they're full. I think at the time the NICU was made to hold like 75 babies, and there was like 110 or something. Like, it was insane. And so we have to suit up and wash down. And when I walked in, my mom was taking me to see Connor. Like, I remember that first baby when I saw it, like, it would literally fit, not my fingers, but in the palm of my hand. It was like 2 ounces. And I'm like, okay, maybe my stuff's not so bad. Maybe my situation's not so bad. And so I was immediately, like, I've always been the person to try to find the positive in things, and my wife is too. And that's just kind of how we were both brought up. And so seeing that was just like, okay, if my kid if he's going to live, then we can get him. I don't care what it takes. We're going to get him to where he needs to be.
Right.
And so the first few months, it was rough. And he had a feeding tube because he wasn't strong enough to drink a bottle on his own. And there's been countless times in his life where doctors will say he won't do this, he won't do that, and he does them. And so the best story to I guess, example of that is when he had the feeding tube. It was about Christmas time. My wife was like, I really want to get Christmas pictures, but I don't want this tube hanging out in the picture. And so we were in charge of taking the tube out, putting the tube back down the other side so he doesn't get infection or whatnot. And I tried it one time, couldn't do it, almost threw up all over myself. And my wife was good at, she was good at it. She was a natural. And so I told her, I said, just keep the tube out, and then let your friend come take the Christmas pictures, and if he misses a feeding, he misses a feeding. And so when it came time for his bottle, she gave him the bottle, and he finished it by himself. And the doctors are like, and this was the second day he was alive, they said, if Connor gets his growth hormones, his own growth hormones, he gets a shot every single night from starting today, the earliest possible time he'll be able to finish a bottle by himself is 9 months old. So because of insurance, and it's always a hassle, he's 3.5 months old. We still haven't gotten the shots, and we're like, we're gonna have this tube forever. And so, but he finishes the bottle, and not supposed to.
3.5 months.
3.5 months.
Wow.
And that's without the medicine. And so we go to the doctor a couple weeks later, and they're asking us the general questions. How much does he weigh? How old is he? Is he finishing a bottle? And we're like, yes. And they're like, it's not possible. I've always been the type of person, like, if you tell me, I'm going to prove it to you, and then I'm going to rub it in your face. And so I was like, you want to watch this? And so I fixed a bottle, gave it to him, and he completely finished it. And the doctor's going,
wow,
he shouldn't be able to do this. Like, this isn't possible. And I'm like, well, somebody told Connor that, didn't tell Connor that he couldn't do it because he'd done it. And it's been like, I've got multiple stories of things like that it says he couldn't do, and he does it, and it's just, it's amazing.
Yeah. And tell us the actual scientific name of it.
So it's called Prader-Willi syndrome. There's several different kinds. His is called UPD, which is basically he got 2 of his mom's 15th chromosomes. And so normally what happens is male gives a chromosome, female gives a chromosome. I gave one, Ashley gave two, and 95% of the time it ends in a miscarriage in like 5 days. So the fact that he was even alive was a miracle.
He's already beating the odds.
Right. And so so I don't know if it's, I don't know the scientific behind it, but somehow a chromosome went away and it was mine. And so he has two of his mom's 15th chromosomes, and so there's some behavioral, there's some cognitive, there's some low muscle tone, but he's, I mean, if I was to bring him and sit him in here right now, he looks like a normal kid.
Yeah,
he looks like a normal kid.
And what I also loved about your story was things just happen how they're supposed to piece together, seeming like your whole life. Ashley mentioned that she wanted to be a nurse, and something was always happening where she would miss a test or turn in a paper, and then she got into the education field and loves it. That's kind of just her. She fell right into it. But the fact that you guys have nurses in I think her side of the family.
Her mom and her sister are both nurses, right?
Yeah, so you'll have the medical aspect to be able to provide for him, but also your training and physical kind of helps with that. And then because she's so great at the young elementary age, she's able to help with his behavioral stuff. So talk to about how that kind of has.
So there's a lot of medical, obviously. We travel to Gainesville, Florida. That's where Specialist is. We've traveled to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and now we just picked up a doctor in St. Louis. So we'll start going to St. Louis in this summer. And so the medical part is big. Well, you said my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law are both nurses, so we've got that part taken care of. Exercise and nutrition is a major, major, major part. Like, he's on a very, very, very strict diet. And so that's my background. So my whole family's background. So we got that. One thing we didn't have was the early education. And there's a lot of delays, motor skills, cognitive-wise, and we didn't have that. And so Ashley was wanting to be a nurse. She was following in her mama's footsteps. And when she did, they would turn this paper in by the 14th. And so she would show up on the 14th. They're like, oh, they told you the wrong date. It was supposed to be the 13th. And so things like this kept happening. And she went to Sunday school with her sister one time, and she was like, I really like these little kids. Like, it's fun. And she's like, you're in education. So it just all kind of like clicked. And so she got right into the education. She started, with her classes, and she was just a natural. And so we finally got that piece for the early education. It was like we had every piece solved except for that one, and it was like the universe was saying, no, you're not going nursing.
That too.
You're going into this. So we were getting prepared. We were definitely being prepared for Connor. And then once Connor came, I don't, like I said in the video that you made, Ashley deserves 99% of the credit. She is amazing, and of all the educators I know, hope Mom doesn't kill me for saying this, but of all the educators I know, she is by far the best one. Like, she is absolutely amazing. And me being competitive, I think she deserves Teacher of the Year every year. So when she comes home and says she didn't win it this year, I'm just like, you got to be kidding. Like, I get mad. I get mad because she deserves it. She really does. But yeah, it's funny how things happen and life plays out.
So I do have to bring that up, okay, because we're on MCPSS TV, but we're also on a podcast. He just touched his nose, scratched his nose. So tell us why you just did that. This is a shout out to one of his students who was on homeroom yesterday.
So one of my students, I call her Laura. She gets mad when I call her that. But Lee. She was on the podcast yesterday, and I was messing with her, and I was like, hey, when you go on, just to kind of give everybody a shout out, kind of give a little scratch your nose. And so I saw her this morning limping down the hallway.
Yeah.
And
she has an injury in ACL.
She came down, and she was like, Coach, I did it. I said, no way. I said, guess who's going on there today? She's like, you've got to do it. So I said, all right, Lily, I'll do it for you.
So that's for you, Lily. He
there
scratched
you go,
his
Lily.
nose. Because you have Connor and you have students too.
I tell people all the time, like, I'll see somebody and I'm terrible with names a lot of times, and I give a lot of nicknames. Like, a lot of my kids have nicknames. Like, I got one right now called Sandbox. We give him, there's all of them. And so we give them all these nicknames, and so they come, hey, Coach, hey, how you doing? How you been? I'm like, hey, Sandbox. Like, I don't remember who they are, and I can remember faces really well, but I'm not very good with names a lot of times. So, yeah, I tell my kids will be like, Daddy, who is that? I was like, oh, that's just one of my kids. Like, if they played for me or they were one of my students, I always call them, they're my kids. Because I mean, really and truly, I spend more time with them every day than I do my own kids at home. So, but yeah, I've got the absolute best students. Absolute best students. I'll put my students up against anybody.
That is cool.
And talk about the win the day. I know you have that pretty much everywhere on you. It's in
Yes.
your classroom. And so you got to show up at home, but you show up in the classroom, never missing a beat. So talk to us about your family mantra, where that came from, and
Yes.
how you kind of implement that in your day to day.
So, about the third, fourth day of Connor's life, Dad come in to the NICU. We basically camped out in the waiting room. We had somebody there 24/7. You know, when they shut down, we'd go to the parking lot and catch a nap, come back and do it all over. And Dad showed up, and he had, I don't know where he got them from, but he had like the little silicone bracelets, and there was one that said "Win the Day," and I was looking at it, and I was like, this is pretty cool. Like, this is not a bad idea to live your life. And so we kind of took that mantra on, trying to get Connor to get a little bit better every day, because our goal was to get out of the NICU. So there was one day he did like 3 cc's of formula, and I thought that was a huge deal. And now looking back, 3 cc's is not. And so when they bumped us up to 5, I was like, all right, we won the day. Yeah. And so we used that to get him out of the NICU, and it stuck. And so now everything that we do, that's our mantra. That's, if you can get just a little bit better each day, then you're moving in the right direction. I tell my students, if I'm going to walk across the country, and the first day I walk 100 miles, I've knocked out a huge chunk of it. But if the next day I only go 100 feet, I'm still, as long as I'm moving in that right direction, it's okay. Like, you're not going to go 100 miles every day. There's some days where you have small victories, but as long as those small victories are moving you towards the right direction, then you're doing right. You're doing good. So win the day, and there's days we don't win the day. There's days we have rough days that we lose the day, but we don't let it become a losing streak. We learn from our, and I've always thought, like, I've never lost a ball game. I've only ran out of time.
I had a shirt that said that. Remember the no fear shirts?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've never lost. I've only run out of time.
But if you can learn from your mistakes, then you're not. There's no way to lose. As long as you learn, then you're moving in the right direction. Then you're doing your job. You're doing what's right.
Such a good lesson. We've talked about that a good bit on this podcast, just that sometimes our students have to learn from their mistakes, and we have to learn from our mistakes as well.
Some of the most successful people in this world are the biggest failures. And the difference between the most successful person and the person that is just standing on the corner is the person who's successful didn't stop at a failure. And if you get a failure, I mean, I give my kids examples all the time. Walt Disney, he was fired for a newspaper, said he didn't have enough imagination. Walt Disney, like, when I think imagination, I think Disney. And there's a ton of stories out there like that. And then that's what I'm saying. Like, as long as you are not quitting and you're learning from mistakes and getting better, then there's no way you're going to fail. Like it. And I've got a ton of these little quotes. Like, Michael Jordan has missed the game-winning shot over like dozens and dozens and dozens of times. But nobody talks about the game-winning shots he missed. They always talk about the ones he wins. So you only got to be successful one time. You can fail 1,000 times, but if you're successful one time, then that's going to get you to the next level. That's going to propel you. So.
And speaking of propelling and moving forward, you got a little fundraiser coming up.
Yes.
And I see you on Facebook where you're training and all that
Yes.
good stuff. Talk about the fundraiser. You guys are going to be running a mile every hour on the hour for 24 hours.
That is correct. So it
That makes me tired just hearing that.
24 hours straight, every hour.
So it all started.
It's a marathon, right? Like the marathon's 26. So
I may have to run
yeah.
like a mile and a quarter a couple times
Just to get it to
that
26,
marathon.
yeah.
So me and another teacher of our at MGM, Alex White, a buddy of mine. I call him a teacher, but he's more of a buddy. He's always been up for these crazy, and I'll come up to him like, "Hey man, let's do this challenge." And he's always like, "All right, let's go." Like, he's really, like, he loves challenging and pushing himself. And me and him, same wavelength as far as that goes. So he decided that I brought it to him. I was like, "Hey man, what do you think about this?" He's like, "Man, that sounds awesome." And so we decided we were going to do it. And then this was back during football season. And so we were like, all right, well, let's get him, because he's an athletic trainer too for the school. So he's at the school a lot. So I was like, well, let's get through football and then we'll start kind of planning a little bit more. Well, I got to thinking, I was like, well, I have this situation at home with Connor, and his doctor is on the verge of like some breakthrough medicine that can save, or it basically cures the life-threatening portion of his syndrome. And so I was like, how can I help? So it's like, maybe we can turn this into like a little fundraiser. I wasn't expecting but to get a couple $100. I mean, honestly. And so I'm talking to the kids in my class, I'm talking to Alex, and a lot of my kids are in his class also. And there's a leadership class on our campus, and there's the whole leadership program, but each class has to have a community project.
It's such a great program.
Yes,
I've got to visit their classroom. It is really cool.
They are amazing. And so these kids were like, hey, what if we do Coach Crist's race? And so they came to me and presented, said, hey, can we choose? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm telling you, this thing has grown legs, and it has taken off. And I'm a big believer, because I have poured into my kids. Like, I love my kids. And it's really cool. I'm going to get some more sunscreen in my eyes talking about it. But it's really cool to see how, when you pour into these kids, how they can pour back into you in return. And so that was really cool. And actually, I was saving this to tell you, but we played the video for the whole school, to the Unsung Heroes video, to push the race. And we have sponsors, and kids are coming to say, hey, my dad's company sponsoring you. And I'm like, that's really cool. And so you could be a $50 sponsor, a $100 sponsor, or a $200 sponsor. And there's actually a local business who Ashley's cousin works for, and her cousin presented it to their, whoever, their committee, and they said, yeah, we'll sponsor it. And so the head guy comes by, and he sees the check, and he's like, what is this check for? And so he calls her cousin in, and he says, you've worked here several years. You don't ever ask for anything. Why are you asking for this money for these people? Do you know them? He was like, yes, sir. And he showed him the video, and the boss picked the check up, ripped it up, and so we're giving a lot more money than $200. So he wrote a bigger check and presented it to us, and it was just so cool. So if nothing else, you were making Prod Willie research a lot of money, and you're helping out. And while I want to stop, I want to honor y'all for a second. Thank y'all for having me on there. I should have said this earlier, but I'm honored to be on here, and I just want to honor y'all, because I mean, this is cool what y'all do here, and getting all the school system involved.
Yeah, and thank you for inviting us into your life. But also, what people don't know, that this is, expensive for you guys to travel, to stay, all of that medical insurance. But this is for not just Connor, but other people are affected by this. So it's going to an organization. It's not going to your family.
I'm not getting one penny off of this. And the kids came to me. They're like, Coach, we know you have a lot of expenses for travel. Do you want us to pull aside some? Absolutely not. No, I want it all going to research. I can figure out a way. If I'm having trouble scraping up money, I'll go get a second job somewhere. I'm not worried about that. I said, I want it all going to research. So everything's going to the research, Connor's doctor, so that she can, like I said, we're close. It's really promising, and so I'm excited because it's going to improve not only Connor's quality of life, but the length of his life. So I told you this too. Anytime I can share my story, I tell my kids at school, I'm an open book. You ask me anything. I have no skeletons in my closet. I'll talk to you about anything, because if my story can help you or inspire somebody else, then I'll tell it 1,000 times, and I won't be ashamed of it one bit. So
That's why we love our job. We both come from journalism. I was a writer, and Asha was on television. And we're storytellers. We do communication, public relations for the school system. But when you work here and you meet our fantastic people, I don't think there's a better group of people than who I've met in Mobile County Public Schools.
And I could give you a list of at least a dozen teachers at our school that you could have made unsung heroes. They're everywhere.
Give her the list. She's looking. Yeah.
And that's what it's about. We know that you guys sign up for this job and you're dedicated, so that's what you do. You show up for how you're supposed to. But it's just the fact that there is a personal side to your life, obviously, like anybody else. And so that was one of the things that resonates with people, is the story. And so when you know that people are going through things and they're still acting as if life is just, life is perfect to its degree, but you just never know what people are dealing with. And your situation could be, you know, I think you mentioned when we were talking, if everybody wrote down their problems and you throw it in a pile and you pick out something, you're like, oh, dang, that's kind of bad.
Yeah.
Let me have my problem
Yeah.
back. You just never know.
Everybody's
So,
going through something,
Yeah.
and you don't know that. And
Yeah.
and so, you know, if I come to school all upset about my kid, well, I have another student whose dad passed away. Like,
Yeah.
they're definitely going through something a lot more. Like, you don't know. And so, for me, it's important for me personally to show up every day. I want to be the same. I want to be high energy. I want to be positive. No matter if I'm having I don't want the kids to know if I've had a really rough morning or a really great morning. I want them just, I had a morning.
Consistency, yeah.
Right. And I feel like that's important because, like I said, these kids, like a lot of them, they don't, like, I'm in the trenches. Like, teachers are in the trenches every day. We see a lot of stuff. We hear a lot of stories. And these kids, like, they had it rough. Some of these kids have it really rough. And some of them, the only positivity, the only time they hear "I love you" is when they're in the classroom. And so, you know, I make sure if my kids leave, hey, have a great day. I love y'all. If y'all need anything, let me know. Like, it's important. And some of them have called me up on it. Like, hey, coach, I need to talk to you. I'm having a little bit of problem. I'm like, let's figure it out. If
Yeah.
I can't answer it, I'll find somebody who can. So, and I just think it's important to push that on the kids because, like I said, you don't know what they're going through.
So how's Connor now?
How is he?
Yeah, how is he?
He's crazy.
And he's a big brother, so
He's a big brother.
tell us how he's doing and tell us about little sister.
Sister keeps him honest. Sister,
Good. That's what
sister.
the second child should do.
I tell people all the time it's kind of scary because my daughter looks just like my wife, but she acts just like I do. So it's kind of a scary combination when you think of it because my wife is beautiful, and I'm borderline crazy, and so she keeps him on his toes, and they play. Like any typical brother and sister, they're loving on each other and playing with each other, and the next minute they're fighting and throwing
Yeah.
stuff and snatching it. But they're all great. Connor, you know, we've had a couple little rough spots past couple weeks, but like I said, we learn from them and we move, and there's times when we have to step up and fight for him, and if we do, we're going to, and we have, and it's just we take it one day at a time.
How old is he now?
He is 9. He
Wow.
will be 10 in August.
So 9 years older than they ever thought he would be.
Yes.
Wow.
It's insane that, like I tell people all the time, if I knew back then what I knew now, I would have never shed the first tear. I would have never gotten upset the first time because he's a typical, I mean, I guess as normal as he can be with parents like me, but he's a great kid. He's a great kid. He's a loving kid. He has to hug you 2 or 3 times before, and I'm like, Connor, look, like, you can only hug
Get
him
off
one
me.
time. Yeah. So
So he's won a lot of days,
yes,
thousands of days.
he has won more days than I can count.
That is so great.
Yes.
So how can we learn more? So Asha, tell us they can find the video on
Yes, the video is on our Facebook page, but if you don't want to scroll and dig and search, it's on our YouTube page. I actually have a Unsung Heroes playlist, so all the videos that we do here on out, they'll be just there, so it's easy to access. So
You can watch it there, and also
get
you
your
have
tissues.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you have a podcast also. So
I do.
You want to plug that for a
I
second
do,
before we have to go?
absolutely. So me and Alex, the guy I run with, we started a Win the Day podcast to basically help the kids at our school because since COVID especially, teenagers, their suicide rates all-time high, depression all-time high. So it's a way for us to give back to them. And Alex is very similar to me. We're both kind of unique, unorthodox style teachers that are kind of, you know, different, I guess, and we always want to push the positivity. So it's just another way for us.
What's
to,
it called?
It's called the Win the Day podcast.
That's a perfect name. That
Absolutely.
is perfect. So that's all the time we have. So check out the video,
Absolutely.
check out the Win the Day podcast, and continue to win your day.
Yes, thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Thank
for
you.
being here.
Absolutely, anytime.